Over 2,000 years ago, two disillusioned disciples walked along a dusty road to Emmaus. They had just witnessed Jesus, their friend and leader, whom they hoped to be the Messiah, suffer a gruesome death by crucifixion. Doubt, fear, and uncertainty clouded their conversation as they journeyed home, questioning the future. Until something miraculous happened. The risen Jesus appeared and answered their questions. Today, many young Catholics step onto college campuses with numerous questions about their faith, yearning to know if the seed of faith given to them as a child is both true and practical. Using the miracle on the road to Emmaus as a model, young adult ministers conversed weekly for 3 months with college students about the most pressing questions they had about the Catholic faith. As they journeyed together virtually, something amazing happened. Doubts disappeared, fears faded, and Jesus revealed that He is still alive. Hearts Burning Within Us, the latest book from Patchwork Heart Ministry, scheduled to be released in the summer of 2021, is a result of that grace-infused conversation. To pre-order your copy and help spread the word about the book, visit patchworkheart.org. Welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. This is a show all about implanting hope in our hearts. I'm Bill Snyder, joined by my friend Ann DeSantis. We're glad you're here for our uplifting conversation about faith and how it sustains our hearts through all the seasons of life. Thanks for walking with us.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. This is Ann DeSantis here, and on behalf of my co-host, Bill Snyder, we welcome you to our podcast. Unfortunately, my co-host is not able to join us on this day, but with me, I have an amazing guest. I have Joellyn Ciccarelli, and I'm going to read you her bio because she really has an amazing one. She is the president and publisher of Loyola Press. Prior to this role, she served the organization as vice president of new product development and director of curricula development, leading the editorial and design teams. With over 25 years of experience in educational and trade publishing, Joellyn has developed award-winning children's books, literacy programs, religious education, curriculums for all ages, and books and resources for adults. She was editor for Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, producing his longest-running book series for teachers. Joellyn is the architect of Adaptive Finding God, a comprehensive faith formation program for children with disabilities, and the author of a variety of children's books and curricula, including Leo's Gifts, Meredith's Gift, and the Investigator Club Pre-Kindergarten Learning System, a nationally recognized early childhood curriculum. She is a wife, mother of two, parish volunteer, and former elementary teacher, catechist, and youth group leader. Wow. Welcome again, Joellyn. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you. I would also like to make a shout out to our friend, Kathy Nipper, who is also an author and a good friend of Loyola and a good friend of the Sowing Hope podcast. And she introduced us so that you could be here with us on this evening. So why don't we start with you, with your life? I know you're a mother of two, and you have a lot to talk about in terms of your career and all the wonderful things that you've done. But let's start with you and with family. I mean, we just finished Thanksgiving not too long ago, and we're in that season of family and of celebration, aren't we?
We are. And it was a special one this year because we were able to invite, family members to come back together when we haven't in the last couple of years. So it was a really good and tender Thanksgiving for us this year. So I've been married 31 years. It'll be 32 next September. We have 2 children, my husband Paul and I. I have a daughter, Karamia, and she is 25, and I have a son, Robbie, who is almost 21 this week. So we're getting them grown and launched. It's wonderful. So that's a little bit about my family. As you can see, through my bio, I've worked a long time, but I managed for 12 years to cheat the system. I worked from home while I was raising my kids, long before working from home was a thing. So I was able to have a career in publishing while I was raising my kids. So I sort of got the best of both worlds. I didn't sleep very much, but I was able to do both things. Prior to publishing, I taught for 7 years in 3 different states. My husband kept moving me around the country, and there was no reciprocity with teaching certificates. I would have to take new tests and more classes every time we moved. So after my 7th year, I said, "Are you going to keep moving me around the country?" And he said, "I think I am." And I said, "Okay, then I need to find a career that'll move with me." And that's when I transitioned into publishing.
What an amazing journey you've been on. And as you were talking, I have to say we have a couple of similarities. One is the amount of years that we've been married, around the same amount, because my husband and I are going to be in this coming year celebrating our 33rd wedding anniversary. And we also have 2 kids that are around the same age as yours. My older daughter's 25 and my younger daughter's 22. So right there.
It's
Yeah.
It's feeling pretty good right now,
Mhm.
They're making
I
their
understand.
they're making their way. So my daughter just started a career as an attorney, so she's done with law school and was sworn in virtually a couple weeks ago and has started her job. And then my son is a junior in college. He goes to St. Norbert College in Green Bay, and he's on the track team there. So I get to go see him in a track meet Saturday, and I'm really excited about it because we weren't allowed to go the last year because of COVID. So it'll be fun to watch him do his thing again. So,
Well, we'll lift up a prayer for him too. And
Thank
thanks for
you.
sharing about your family life. Because I know there's a lot to talk about in terms of what you've done with your career. Let's start out with Loyola and your work there.
Sure. So I've been at Loyola Press since 2008. I came in as the director of curricula development. So I ran the editorial and design and production teams for the textbook division. And then became vice president of new product development, where I took over trade and curriculum. And then I was fortunate enough to be promoted into the role of president and publisher when my predecessor retired. So I feel so blessed to work at Loyola Press. It is a place where my personal life and my professional life match up seamlessly. It's a place where I feel so strongly about the mission and helping people have transformative experiences spiritually that lead them to God and through Jesus Christ. And that's really important to me. And so I don't feel like I go to work every day. It's actually a blessing. It all matches up quite nicely. So that's my career at Loyola right now. I love what I do.
Well, there's nothing better than that. And that you're living out your mission in the church in such a beautiful way. I have to say, I love Loyola Press. I mean, the books that I have from Loyola, I'm just in love with. And we've had quite a few guests here on the Sowing Hope podcast of different authors. And so that's a blessing as well. And so I know you've done even more than that. So you're busy with your full-time job, right? You are obviously full-time. That you've got the 25 years of experience in educational and trade publishing. Talk about that. The 25
Sure.
years, long time.
A really long time. I started my career in publishing at a company called Creative Teaching Press. They're in Cypress, Huntington Beach, California. I started there the year I got Teacher of the Year. I quit teaching and went over to publishing, and it was a tough decision, but it was one I'm really glad I made. I feel like I can touch more kids this way, you know, in a broader sense, not as deeply necessarily as I did when I was a classroom teacher, but more broadly. And while I was there, I was really fortunate to become Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' editor for 2 years.
I saw that. It's amazing.
I did 12 books with Fred. They were called the Grow and Learn with Mr. Rogers series. And what they did was they matched up episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood with classroom activities and activities that you could do in the home. So if the kids viewed an episode of it, then you could extend that learning beyond just, you know, consuming and watching TV. I have to tell you, Mr. Rogers is exactly the same in real life as he was on television. I can tell you one. I'll tell you one quick story that let me know that I was working with somebody incredibly special. I was on set in the Land of Make Believe the very first time. I'm 31 years old. My daughter is a year old. I can't believe my good fortune that I'm here in Pittsburgh, you know, on the set in the Land of Make Believe. King's Friday's castle is there. All I have with me, because this is pre-cell phones, I have a disposable camera. And I am bound and determined to get my photograph with Mr. Rogers. So we are, you know, on set and there's people milling around. And I asked him, Mr. Rogers, would you mind if I had my photo taken with you? And I sort of sheepishly pulled out my camera and he said, I wouldn't mind having my picture taken with you at all. He said, but I'd like to take your picture with them first. And he took my camera and he turned around. And it was the caterer and the key grip and the cameraman. And he said, they're the people who do all the real work around here. And he put these people around me and he took my camera and he took my photo with all the people who worked on the show. And then he gave my camera to someone and he said, now I'd be happy to have my picture taken with you.
What a humble servant.
Oh, he was extraordinary.
To me, he seems like, I mean, only God knows, right? But I mean, he has the markings of that saint, doesn't he? I mean,
he absolutely.
Yes.
I believe I encountered a living saint. And what's really interesting to me is there are, you know, I've met two people in my life, and Pope Francis was the other, actually. I met two people in my life that I truly felt that the Holy Spirit was working through them, and they just had a presence that was unique and special. And Fred Rogers was one, and Pope Francis was the other. And what great company to keep. I feel sometimes I have to pinch myself that my life has been so blessed, and you know, it's kind of amazing.
It really is. Thank you for sharing. That's really beautiful. I will not forget those stories that you just told.
Thanks.
Because, you know, it's meeting people like them. I mean, as short as that experience was, it's something that you're telling how many years later, right? 30, whatever, however, you said your daughter's 25, so maybe 24 years ago, whatever it was. Because I know that he passed away, I believe it was in the early 2000s, I think, sometime.
He did, and his illness was really short. And, you know, I have one other story that I don't often tell because I'm still sort of trying to process it. Because I had done work with them in the past and I'm still friends with the neighborhood. I still talk to people. There had been, from time to time, we would chat, or I would do freelance jobs for them, or we would, you know, just visit. And I got a phone call one day from somebody who worked with him And I was so busy and so overwhelmed, and I was working on something, and I didn't return the call. And well, I guess this is a life lesson, return the calls.
Yes.
Because they were calling to tell me that he was sick.
Mm.
And they didn't leave a message, obviously. And I didn't return the call. And about 2 weeks later, he passed away. And, that's one of my, I have very few regrets in my life, but that is one of them. I should have picked up the phone and called back, but I just felt like, oh, if they ask me to do a freelance job, I will have a hard time saying no. And so I sort of avoided the situation. And now I wish I had, picked up the phone and called back. That being said, I'm sure Fred forgives me. And
That's right.
And I learned a lesson. So
yeah, it's a good lesson, I think, for all of us. I know in my own life, I have one not exactly like that, but it's along those same lines of, not making that call back or whatever, and then you just don't know what happens. So thank you so much for sharing on that. So tell us a little bit more now. I want to mention some of the books that they're in your bio. You're the architect of Adapt Finding God, a comprehensive faith formation program for children with disabilities, and the author of a variety of children's books. I'll just mention them and we can just talk about all of them, including
Sure.
Leo's Gift, Meredith's Gift, the Investigator Club, Pre-Kindergarten Learning System, a nationally recognized early childhood curriculum. So please tell us more.
Sure. So I'll start with Adaptive Finding God. When I first started at Loyola, one thing that became really clear quite quickly was that there were kids around the country with disabilities, and they weren't necessarily being served to receive the sacraments or to have faith formation. And it wasn't that people didn't want to help, it was that there weren't resources to help. Because the USCCB has really clear guidelines for the reception of the sacraments for people with disabilities, but you have to be able to show that you can meet those. So we embarked on an adventure, really, working very closely with the National Catholic Partnership on Disability, and developed a full curriculum and sacramental preparation kits too for people with disabilities and special needs. It has two levels: a hands-on level for people for whom grade level doesn't matter and reading doesn't matter, and then we have also an adapted grade level. So we created adaptations to every single lesson of one of our core curricula, Finding God, our response to God's gifts, so that there can be full inclusion too for kids with disabilities. We are the only publishing company to create such a thing, and it was the right thing to do, and I'm so glad we did it. Every month I get a beautiful letter or a photograph from a family or a parish or a DRE or a pastor thanking us for the materials, because they are life-changing and helping people be fully included in the faith, which I love. The Investigator Club is a preschool curriculum that I worked on long before I came to Loyola Press. I have an amazing co-author, Beth Wise, and together we work to develop a preschool curriculum that is still being used today all over the country. And then Leo's Gift and Meredith's Gift are the last two books that I worked on. It was actually for Loyola Press. I came out of retirement. Leo's Gift is a picture book about a little guy who is trying to discover what his gift might be in life and to the world. And he accidentally discovers that he's quite a natural at the piano. And at the end of the story, it's sort of a tangential Christmas book too, which is so great. At the end of the book, he he shows up at his sister's piano recital and then plays Joy to the World and surprises everyone at the recital with his rendition of it. It's a sweet story. And then Meredith's Gift is a sequel. It's actually about his sister, Meredith, who believes that basketball is her gift, and it is, but she discovers she has an illness that won't allow her to play anymore. So she ends up deciding that maybe she's going to use her gift to help coach. And so she becomes a basketball coach. These books for me, raising kids like you, I have two children with incredibly different talents and incredibly different ways of proceeding, and I wanted to make sure that I raised them in a way that would help them blossom and follow their own passion and dreams. And so Leo's Gift was really the first book. It was about how do you help kids explore what and find their noble purpose, or at least one of them.
That's good. Noble purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you help children find that noble purpose, then they're going to proceed the rest of their lives in a way that makes the world a better place and makes them happy too, makes others happy. You can't beat it. So.
Yeah, I firmly believe that what children are taught at a young age, not just about reading, writing, and arithmetic, but about life and about what's important, and about, and if they're Catholic, right, what does it really mean to be Catholic?
Right.
And so, yes. So I just think that's beautiful.
My kids' school have a school motto, and it ends with, we pray, we learn, we serve. And the kids all know their emotions to it. They make prayerful hands. And when they say we pray, when they say we learn, they open their hands like a book. And then when they say we serve, they push their hands out. And I feel like they've been saying that motto and living that credo since they were 3, from ages 3 to through 8th grade. And it imprints, and it's good.
Yeah, imprints is a good word, because that's what it does. It's sort of like it imprints the soul, doesn't it? The spirit of what's your mission. Everybody has a mission, that baptismal call to serve, to love God, love neighbor. So I just thank you for the wonderful work that you're doing. Now we're coming into this, giving season, aren't we? In fact, we're in it when this podcast is being aired, early December. So for people who are listening and watching this podcast and might be thinking, those holidays are coming, Christmas is coming, I need to get some gifts. What could you recommend, or what should they do in order to get to your site and be able to see all the great books that are available?
That's a great question. So if you go to www.loyolapress.com, that's our website, loyolapress.com. And we have a couple of things right now that are really special. One is we have the 12 Books of Christmas. And it's a wonderful collection of children's books if you have kids in your life. That is a special going on right now. And they sort of run the gamut from beautiful Christmas books to, everyday children's books too. That is great. And then for adults, if you have elders in your life, we have a book called Sharing the Wisdom of Time. We gathered wisdom stories from elders all over the world. And then Pope Francis answers those stories. So he tells his own. And what's really cool is on Christmas Day, Netflix is coming out with a documentary series, The Wise Generation with Pope Francis, that's based on this book.
Oh, my goodness.
Jane Goodall is in the series. Martin Scorsese is in the series. And obviously Pope Francis is in the series. They are also in the book. So that, I think, is a great Christmas gift for adults elder, grandparents, and really any grown up. And it now is going to be a Netflix series on Christmas Day. It launches. So I'm so excited about that.
Oh, I am too. That's a big deal. Really is. And so if you go to your website, is it kind of like right on that front page somewhere that people would find it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And if there's a banner, that's running, and I'm sure the 12 Books of Christmas and Sharing the Wisdom of Time are on there. Also just in the search bar, they can search wisdom, Pope Francis, whatever they need to. So, and then the children's books will be pretty obvious too. So,
that is exciting. I'm definitely going to check that out. Thank you for that information.
Yeah, we are really excited. What a blessing and a surprise. It's kind of amazing. So we're really happy about it.
It really is. So is there anything else that's going on in this coming, like say end of 2021, going into 2022 that you want the audience to know about?
One of the things that I think I'd love to share is we at Loyola Press try to sort of, St. Ignatius says, go in their door and take them out yours. And more, because of the pandemic and otherwise, kids are online. And we developed the very first Catholic video game called Wanderlight, A Pilgrim's Adventure. And you take on the avatar, the persona of the pilgrim, and grown-ups and kids love this game. So if you're a gamer, it might be for you. And it's called Wanderlight. And you travel through these worlds. You meet saints, you meet people like Moses, and you go on quests to help make the world a better place. And then at the end of every level, you do an Ignatian examen prayer, and you speak with Jesus about what maybe you've learned in the game that you can transfer out into the world, into real life. So we're really, really proud of that too. We have a lot of
big things happening.
Yeah,
really big things.
It's a pleasure. Like I said, it doesn't feel like a job.
Yes, I just have to commend you. And I know you're a very humble person, and just like Fred Rogers, when he turned around and took the picture with everyone else that was in the studio. I mean, I think I see that in you too, that you don't take credit for some of these beautiful things that are happening. So I just thank you for your humility and for your service, right? Just beautiful service. So thank you. I didn't know if there was anything else that you wanted to share. I know that you're very active at your own church and also doing some other things there. Did you want to talk about any of that?
So the last thing I worked on at St. Francis was I helped put together an anniversary book. They say go with what you know, like use your everyday talents to try to help where you are. And so that was the latest thing that I worked on. It was kind of a labor of love. I learned a lot about the starting of my parish in the 1800s, but also about my town and my community in general. And I would just tell folks that whatever your talent is, whatever your gift is, I know that your parish, your church has a need in some area, and just pick up the phone and say, how can I help? It's always, I think, a worthwhile experience. I always get as much out of it as I give, which is a wonderful byproduct of life when you engage in it and go for it. So.
Yes, engage. That's such a good word, because we're all ministers of mercy in some way, aren't we?
We are.
We really are. I just thank you so much for being a guest on the Sowing Hope podcast, both for myself and my wonderful co-host, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us this time around. But maybe if you join us again, you'll get to meet Bill Snyder, the founder of Patchwork Heart Ministry. And I just invite you to tell us where they can also connect with you. I know you mentioned the website. Are there any other social medias that you want to mention?
Sure. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all under Loyola Press. And we also have an amazing community, a Facebook community Catholic Faith Formation, it's called. And it's all sorts of folks who are engaged in faith formation, catechists, DREs, teachers, principals, lots of idea sharing. And it's a wonderful place to go and be inspired and keep going every day to share the good news.
Amen. Thank you so much, Joellyn. It's
Thank
an honor to
you.
have you. And I just invite everyone to connect with you. So one more thing I want to mention, that in this season of giving, consider patronizing Loyola Press and the wonderful products that they have, and also Patchwork Heart Ministry by going to patchworkheart.org and learning more about our mission. So on behalf of Bill Snyder and myself, we'll see all of you next time. Keep sowing hope into broken hearts. God bless.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Sowing Hope on Patchwork Heart Radio. For more information about this podcast and our ministries, visit our websites, patchworkheart.org and DeSantis.com. You can also follow and interact with us on Twitter at PWH Ministry or DeSantis2. Over 2,000 years ago, two disillusioned disciples walked along a dusty road to Emmaus. They had just witnessed Jesus, their friend and leader, whom they hoped to be the Messiah, suffer a gruesome death by crucifixion. Doubt, fear, and uncertainty clouded their conversation as they journeyed home, questioning the future. Until something miraculous happened. The risen Jesus appeared and answered their questions. Today, many young Catholics step onto college campuses with numerous questions about their faith, yearning to know if the seed of faith given to them as a child is both true and practical. Using the miracle on the road to Emmaus as a model, young adult ministers conversed weekly for 3 months with college students about the most pressing questions they had about the Catholic faith. As they journeyed together virtually, something amazing happened. Doubts disappeared, fears faded, and Jesus revealed that He is still alive. Hearts Burning Within Us, the latest book from Patchwork Heart Ministry, scheduled to be released in the summer of 2021, is a result of that grace-infused conversation. To pre-order your copy and help spread the word about the book, visit patchworkheart.org.